Hello, everyone, and welcome. You are watching Special Needs TV. I am your hostess, Mary Elizabeth Jackson. I'm an author and I am also a certified disabilities advocate. I want to say a warm welcome to my audience on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Thank you so much for being here. And if you're watching on the replay, thank you so much for watching. Again, we are talking today about parenting and the challenges that go along with parenting a child who is on the autism spectrum. Parenting is a challenge, period, but when you bring all of that into play, it really does change the game or the parenting field, if you want to call it that. It takes a whole new meaning. On our show today is my guest, Gina Uricchio, and or AKA Mother Asana, as she is called. And I'm so excited to have been connected with her and the work that she's doing in the world. It's really, really important. So I'm going to tell you about a little bit about Gina before I bring her on. She's a mother, a visionary, and a yogi. Creating connection is the cornerstone to her parenting and personal style. Meditation and yoga have been instrumental while raising her family alongside her husband. Especially, this has helped to meet the challenges of raising a child with needs. Gina instills stillness, which we all need, resilience, and surrender every day as a warrior mom. And yes, any mom who's raising a child, whether they have needs or not, is a warrior mom. Her daughter, Allie, who is the illustrator on this beautiful journal that we're going to be talking about today, is an artist, a yogi, and a natural free spirit. She's a lover of nature, music, water, and being playful. She spends her days living in each season with presence, which can't we learn a lot from her? And she practices yoga daily, and she creates her own space, her own safe space to do this, which is really wonderful. She loves the beach. She's a nonstop giggler, and she likes drawing and singing, long car rides. I have to ask about this, though, the drive-throughs. I need to hear this story. And wide open spaces. So I'm going to bring Gina on so she can join us. And she is having some technical difficulties today, so with her microphone. But Gina, hi, how are you?
Hi, Mary. How are you?
Oh, I am so excited to have you here. And, I'm so grateful to have been connected to you. Now, I'm going to show your journal that we're going to be talking about today.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so this is the journal right here. Yes, I'm going to have you bring it up on screen. Here, let me put you on full screen. Hold on a second. Okay, it doesn't want to let me do that, but let's see. Hold on, here we go. Okay, now show everybody. Yes, it's called The Art and Voice of Autism. And I'm going to jump right in and ask you, why was it so important to you to, to write this journal, to create this with your daughter? I want you to tell everybody, why was this so important?
It just came from a place where Allie and I were almost on a standstill with the way we were connecting. She was doing really well going out into the world and doing all kinds of fun things with her direct service providers. But when she came home, she was more or less going off to kind of hang out on her own. So while I was doing a great job, I feel, kind of giving her the best possible life outside the home, we were struggling a little bit on connection. So that's how the journal came together, is how we would connect in our home through various activities involving art, yoga, inspiration with recipes, planning menus, all kinds of stuff involving other family members like grandparents, caregivers, and how they could use this tool as well.
Okay, that is awesome. So I love it. I have the journal. I've been going through it. I'm going to be using it myself. I'm so excited about it. And I love the whole creativeness about the way you created this journal, because you divided it up into sections that go with the seasons. And, I have 2 children on the spectrum out of 3. And my little guy is, nature really does speak to kiddos a whole lot. And so that was like during the pandemic, that was our saving grace. I was like, all right, everybody load up. And even though we weren't supposed to be outside at the park, we have a park down the street. That was a saving grace for the mental health well-being of our family. And just getting out there, connecting to nature, grounding and bringing it back in, and deep breathing and those things. What do you think are 3 important tools as a parent or caregiver of a child, of raising a child with autism that a person can use? And is there anything you can talk about that they could start implementing today?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is connecting and starting where you are. And it really depends on the level of connection that your child is able to express. So the way I put together the journal was through the seasons. And that's really where we began, use the example of COVID and how we found ourselves in February, March 2020. And it was the middle of the winter here in New England. And you talk about going outside and getting into nature and remembering the days back where everybody was going on big hikes. People have never hiked before were leaving the house and find all those things going on. But I found that I had to start and meet Allie where she was. And I couldn't overwhelm her system as well. So really it began how to structure her in a place where she was able to find connection with me. And that's really where the journal begins, is through the seasons of our lives, how we find presence and purpose, whether it's for 5 minutes or an hour. The attention spans of the autistic individual or any individual who's a little easily distracted, might I say, is never easy. So I think that you have to start where you are. You have to do sort of an inventory of the child's interest or the adult's interest. And thirdly, I think you have to be generous with yourself as far as what you're taking on. So not biting off more than you both can chew, since you're the caregiver and the parent, perhaps. So you're kind of really going into this very invested with big feelings.
Absolutely. You know what? Yes. And it's so, we're not handed a book when our children are born or when they're given a diagnosis, and we're really lost. And we feel so vulnerable as parents, and really a lot of times we feel like failures. I mean, I've had those days. I know you've had those days. We just cry and go, okay, we're going to bed, and tomorrow we're going to get up and we're going to start all over again, because that's all we can do, right? Because today we just have to put this day down and away into bed. What have been some of your toughest challenges raising Allie?
Well, I think what you just said about putting things to bed, we put things to bed for a few years.
I understand that. And then you just feel like a failure again, but it's like, oh, we're in survival mode.
It's like, we haven't practiced that lately. We haven't practiced that in a year, But one of the biggest things that I've learned is, it can wait. Sometimes things can really feel like we've got to get this skill acquired or done, or she has to achieve this. And there's a readiness to her maturity where she when she's ready to learn, she sort of takes it on in a blink. And, whether it's my husband and I saying, well, now it's time for her to do this or learn this, or maybe not my husband and I, but society sort of says, shouldn't she be doing this by now? Shouldn't she be tying her shoes or showering herself or washing her own hair? And not realizing that the caregiver, is the person who's got to teach her about washing her hair, instituting, a routine in washing hair, and then all the three components that go on with her washing her hair. I'm just using washing her hair as an example because she has thick, glorious hair, and it's been an issue, because she struggles when she tries to wash it. And we're her caregivers. We want it to be clean and shiny, and so how can we come in and find these nooks and crannies where she can be more comfortable in this discipline, where she can feel a little bit more independent? So our solution was to take her to the salon and get her hair washed.
Well, that is definitely, I kind of resorted to that same thing for my son because hair cutting was a nightmare. I mean, it was nightmare. And so finally I was like, okay, let's just go try this. And he will sit there and let them do it. And it was just like, you know what? I'm just letting this go. I'm gonna let this go. I'm gonna let fingernail clipping going. And for most people with a typical child, that's not an issue. But when you have sensory children, autistic children, children with challenges, it becomes a whole different thing. I mean, my mom witnessed it and she just like, this is the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen, trying to cut this child's hair. And I'm like, this is our life,
Yeah.
So talk to us also about, you're a yogi and a yoga instructor, and how do you use it in your daily, how does it benefit your daughter, do you feel, in your daily life? And I know I use it not to the extent that I would like to, but definitely, I mean, it's, oh my gosh, through my pregnancies and everything, it was really a lifesaver for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the cornerstone of how Mother Asana was born. So through my yoga practice, I am a mother. I have 2 children. I am a yogi, and while I was sitting at the kitchen table with Allie, I realized that I was actually, in this seated, easy pose, just sitting there trying to connect with her. And I realized that motherhood is the highest asana. The asana really means to sit with presence and purpose, using your breath and being firm, but also soft in your body. And I connected motherhood as the highest asana. And from that place, the blog and the journal was really born of how do we connect? How do I take care of myself while parenting and doubling up as a caregiver, and then being present in my body to feel calm and not, you live from moment to moment with my nervous system being in fight or flight constantly. That never served me well. That anxiety. It's an Allie being intuitive and very, very in tune into my moods and the mood of the house. It became very important. So we learned very quickly, like loud, talking very loud. She could sense my tone. So like yelling at my kids never really worked. I learned that very quickly, because she would just start yelling and then everyone's yelling. And so I started instituting all these behaviors and had to really learn them myself and relearn how to really communicate outside of the place where I was brought up, because it was completely different raising this child alongside my son in this special needs world, which was, I like to compare it to like Alice in Wonderland. I just went down the rabbit hole and met all these characters. I'm just like, what am I doing here? I'm 3 times the size of these people.
You touched on really, really important points there, because when you're in a household and you've got a typical child, what the world calls typical, and then you've got a non-typical child, or maybe several, you have to parent 2 different ways. And you really you have to unravel parenting as we've been taught, as our parents were raised, as our parents raised us, and you cannot parent the same way. It just doesn't work. It's like putting a square peg in a round hole. It's just never, ever going to work. And so, that's really important what you're talking about. We have to find the style for our children that works, and definitely those calmer households. I know in my household, we've had those periods of time. I don't know if you've done this with Allie, where they are loud moments, and they are like, let them be free. And, when my kids were little, I have a CD that's got Tchaikovsky on it. And the music, there's one piece, and I can't remember, my girls and my son call it the Munster song, because that's what they sound like. So then we turn that on and they run around the house. But that's the time, like that's an allotted time that I give. So let's get all that out, and it lets them be crazy in a very safe environment and really fun and expressive of their powerful emotions that they have. And so, I could not see, that didn't happen when I was a child growing up. You know what I mean? But it worked for our kids.
Not at all. I mean, we were all kind of like hoarded in the same room, and then told to sit down and whatever, eat, be quiet, watch the movie, and we all kind of behave the same way. And then you and I are in this new situation where we have these 2 different children. And then the other thing that was interesting is when Allie wasn't using her language, or she couldn't speak, everything was prompt dependent, like with nonverbal. Do you want this? Do you want this? We're using visuals. My son, who's younger than her, was becoming prompt dependent.
Oh, no.
Sitting around waiting for do I do this? Are you this? And then you're like, oh my gosh, I got to teach him not to be so prompt dependent, because he went to school and he's like, well, the teacher didn't tell me. I'm like, no, you can get up on your own. You don't have to wait for the next prompt or the visual,
Right. That's a whole story right there in itself, because, you don't think about that stuff, about a child who doesn't need it, but is watching the child who needs it, because they emulate everything they see. So they think that's supposed to be their life. And, what a fascinating story, because you don't think about those things. We as parents don't think about that. And so, those are things that need to be addressed as well,
Yeah, I think very much so. I think, we do talk about the autistic individual, but the journal is really for the sibling as well, because I think they're fighting for connection, the whole time in the family unit. And when you're sitting with presence and purpose, you may have that distracted family member or child who has a speech delay or autism or ADD, but then you also have that typical sibling who is actually capable of connecting for a longer time and maybe working independently at the table with the exercise or project. That's, one of the pictures or art expressions in the book. Wow, the parent can actually tend to the special needs child.
Right. So what I'm going to do is I want to see if you'll read from the book.
Sure.
And I know you have sections of the book. You have activities in the book. I'm going to put you on camera and let you hold the book up so that everyone can see. This book is available on Amazon and everywhere books are sold. Now, the really cool thing is the cover is, I know this is one of the selling points for the book. The cover is very soft. And why don't you open it up and show everybody what it looks like on the inside? Because you have sections, and it is sectioned off by the seasons. And then there are activities and things inside to do, right?
Right. So there's a whole section in how to use this book.
Okay.
Which is good. The book lays flat, so you can sit across from the person you're connecting with or right next to, and the paper is able to be drawn on with any kind of markers or crayons. And all the art in the book is done by Allie.
By your daughter, yes.
So the book begins with the summer season, and it goes through the 4 seasons, as we still have in the U.S. right now.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
And then each page in the seasons has a little yoga mindset, mindfulness sort of poem, I would say, a journal prompt, and then an artistic expression.
Nice.
So, for instance, we have one that it's in the middle of summer. We're all spinning on the same ball. And that's Allie's art.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And it's, a group of kids holding hands. And then you turn the page, and I use a quote in every insight. And this is a quote, "What a world we share." And then here is "We're all spinning on the same ball." And I can read from here if you'd like.
Yeah, please read for us. Absolutely.
So we're all spinning on the same ball. And the quote above it is "What a world we share." And I'll just read an excerpt to you. "We are all alike. To notice that we are all the same is a very hard concept. Meditation teacher Pema Chodron talks about seeing ourselves in others and learning how to pause and catch ourselves before we begin any sort of judgment. This, my friends, is never easy. I mean, really, how could all these people around us essentially be us? Within the world that my family navigates, we have been subjected to judgment in the strongest places: the grocery store, the airport, and restaurants. Funny how people can stare you down and think you don't see them. Whether there was judgment facing us or not, I can assure you it never feels good. I can stop myself when I feel judgment and go back to the practice, which says that we are all alike. We are all learning. We're all figuring out new stuff all the time. We've all been on each other's sides, but we've been judged and have been judging ourselves. Allie holds no prejudice. She knows nothing of why it would be wrong to sing in the grocery store. Her way is through love, and when she encounters the judges or skeptics, she literally laughs them off. This hasn't been easy for the rest of my family. Grocery stores and airports are all teaching environments, and we've had our share of rude comments. But thankfully, with every person that falters, there's always a kind person right behind them. This is what soothes us, lifts us, and elevates us. And always a reminder, we are all alike. And according to Allie's favorite song, we're all spinning on the same ball. We move from a place of comparison to a place of equanimity. Let's try and practice that.
Okay, I want to cry. Or just my heart feels so, oh, wow. That's just so
And then
beautiful.
we have the artistic expression, which is the earth, create the earth. And so we're all spinning on the same ball. And you can just take a couple pieces of colored paper and rip, no cutting with scissors for those young ones who are still learning to cut. And then you kind of create your own earth, whatever your depiction is. And then we offer them to create it right on the page here, or certainly off on your own piece of paper, and then share it with us.
Nice.
And this is Allie's real live depiction.
Oh, that's beautiful.
The earth.
That's beautiful.
And then you go, and then the book goes on to an artistic expression to bring it even further. And because we're in summer, I offer up a beach picnic menu.
Oh, fun.
And that's another activity that you can do, or you can make a grocery list and then take the child to the grocery store and have them pick out certain things, and then go back and build the picnic, and then go out in the car and maybe do a visual schedule where you might do a picnic the next day or the same day, depending on the level of meltdowns. Your picnic could be in your front yard or on the stairs.
Right, or in the living room. Who knows?
Yeah, it's just really anywhere that you live. There's no pressure.
Right. Well, it's so beautiful. Yeah. I mean, how long did it take you to come up with this concept and put it together? For anyone out there thinking of creating something like this, how long did it take you, do you think?
Well, I started with the mindfulness of taking on Allie's expressions of how she interprets the world, and then connecting them with the seasons. And then I took an inventory of her gifts, and basically it was all of her art and these funny sayings, like we're all spinning on the same ball. What a world we share. And she would just walk around saying this stuff. So it took me a while to meld all the art with the sayings and the insight, and then artistic expression. So it took about 2 years for the project.
Okay. Yes. Well, there's a lot of heartfeltness and love that has gone into this project, and it's absolutely a gorgeous, gorgeous book. I love it.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful for it. I'm going to share it with my little guy. We're going to do this stuff together. And being a creative person myself, using the art world to raise my own children, seeing how it heals and how it assists them in life, make it fulfilling. It enriches their life so much. I really love and appreciate all that has gone into this that you've done. It's really beautiful.
I think there's nothing better than just seeing someone involved, and even just ripping paper and then putting it together in a circle, and then having the mind connection, like, ooh, that's our earth.
Yeah.
That's how my earth looks, And
right.
Decorate it with stickers and whatever.
Right. Absolutely. So what do you have a next project for you and Allie?
Oh my goodness. Well, we are busy right now just promoting the book.
Yes.
And taking it all in through the season now. So, right now we just finished October in the house. Obviously, it's November. It was breast cancer awareness month. I'm also a survivor.
Wonderful.
That is in the book as well. My story of how she interpreted it. I can quickly turn to that page just to show you.
Yes, here, let me.
So she made me this cancer ribbon.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And, we talk about how she interpreted illness, and then the journal prompt is really how you approach sadness in your life, or disappointment or change in your family life. So Allie and I are really working on giving back to community, and her birthday month is coming up in a couple weeks, and actually it's November, so her birthday's coming up. And we are going to be taking some proceeds of the book and giving to her local art program. And so we just want to get the message out to families that you can connect through different ways whether it's art or sharing a recipe together, perhaps taking a car ride. You wanted to talk about drive-thrus. That's one of Allie's favorite things to do. And just installing connection and giving society creative ideas of being with each other.
Oh, that's really nice. Okay, I want you to hold the book up one more time. We're going to tell everybody where you can find the book, because you can buy it anywhere books are sold. The Art and Voice of Autism. It's absolutely beautiful. Gina, thank you so much for being here. We'll have to have you back on again to follow your journey with Allie. And, go buy the book, support them on this journey. It's good for all children. This journal is really great for all kids. But, your child could learn about what it's like in the family of a child with autism. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you to our audience on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And this is Special Needs TV. And we will be back next time with someone else to wonderfully talk about. We don't know what the subject will be, but there's so many things to talk about, aren't there? So Gina, thank you so much, and we'll see you soon, okay? Bye.
Thanks, Mary.
Thanks, bye.